Welcome back to Sip and Talk. It is Saturday, January 17th, 2026. We are fully settling into the new year, and I have to say, looking at the map right now, well, it's a lot. We've got the heaters on, we got the coffee brewing, and we are looking at a world that feels a little more fragile than it did a few years ago.
It certainly does. The tectonic plates of geopolitics are grinding together a bit louder than usual.
They really are. I mean, to set the scene for a second, we've got Donald Trump back in the White House as the current president, which, regardless of how you voted, has undeniably reshuffled the deck on international relations.
For sure.
Alliances are being stress-tested. Trade deals are being looked at with a magnifying glass. It's a volatile time. But, as always, that is not why we are here. We aren't here to shout about the headlines or get caught up in the emotional whirlwind of Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it this week.
Right. The mission of Sip and Talk remains the same.
Yeah.
We want to strip away the outrage. We want to put the screaming matches on mute and, look at the cold, hard logic underneath the chaos.
Exactly. Independent thinking. We want to look at these massive, complex issues through an objective international lens. Because usually when you peel back the layers of emotion, what you're left with is a puzzle, a logic puzzle. And today... oh boy, today's puzzle is a psychological knot as much as it is a political one.
It is. It's a fascinating intersection of individual psychology and state mechanics.
We are tackling a specific profile that kept popping up in our research stack. It's a personality type or maybe a political stance that I think everyone listening has encountered in some form. Maybe it's a chaotic uncle at Thanksgiving, maybe it's a colleague in the break room, or maybe it's just a voice you see constantly in the comment sections. We are calling this the puzzle of the hostile beneficiary.
The hostile beneficiary. It sounds like something out of a contract law textbook, doesn't it?
It does, but it's actually a very human, very messy contradiction. The core question we are trying to answer today is this. How do we explain the psychology of someone who lives in a house, eats the food in the fridge, enjoys the safety of the alarm system, but is actively, loudly cheering for the arsonist who is standing outside with a match?
It is a profound disconnect. And today we are going to surgically dissect that mindset. We're going to look at some specific analogies from the source material, the dormitory, and the gym membership to understand how people rationalize this behavior to themselves. But we aren't stopping there. We're going to widen the aperture. We're going to take that individual psychology and apply it to the global stage, looking at regime stability in places like Iran and China.
So we're going from the sweaty gym locker room to the Great Hall of the People.
That is the journey. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's unpack this hostile beneficiary persona. Now, the sources we are looking at today draw specifically from the Taiwan context because that is a very high-pressure environment where these contradictions become super visible. But let's be real. This profile exists in every democracy. We are talking about individuals who enjoy the full suite of benefits provided by a democratic system.
And let's be specific about what those benefits are. We're talking about universal health care, legal protection, the ability to sue and be sued fairly. We're talking about the safety of the streets, the freedom of movement, the ability to hop on a plane with a recognized passport.
Exactly. They consume these benefits daily. They rely on them. But simultaneously, they advocate for that system's destruction. In the specific context of the sources, they're advocating for military annexation by a hostile power. They're basically saying, I want this system to end, while standing in line to collect their check from it.
To understand this, you have to look at what the research calls the one-sentence contradiction. If you boil down this entire worldview, it is this. I am enjoying a system whose existence I deny.
Enjoying a system whose existence I deny? That feels like a cognitive short circuit. How do you hold those two thoughts at once?
It is a form of logical self-negation. It is denying the source while accepting the result. You see this when someone claims a government is a fake regime or illegitimate. They will scream that from the rooftops. Yet they are the first in line to use the passport issued by that fake regime to go on vacation. They are the first to use the health insurance funded by that illegitimate government to get their teeth fixed.
It's interesting because usually in any other part of life, if you fundamentally object to an institution, you divest from it, right? If you hate a company, you don't buy their products. If you had a restaurant, you don't eat there every night.
Precisely. You vote with your wallet or your feet. But here, the consumption continues. The sources give us this incredible analogy of the dormitory, which I think makes this very concrete for anyone who's ever been a student.
I loved this one. So paint the picture for us.
Okay, imagine you are living in a university dorm. You were a student there.
Right. I'm in the dorm. I got my mini fridge.
You have the mini fridge, but more importantly, you have the infrastructure. You've got free food in the cafeteria 3 times a day. You've got running hot water. You've got electricity, heating, and high-speed Wi-Fi included in your residency. It's a solid setup. But you spend your entire day posting online or telling your roommates in the hallway that the dorm should be bombed. Bombed, demolished. You argue that the building next door, maybe a rival university or a different organization, is greater or more legitimate. You claim your current dorm is a sham and needs to be wiped off the map so the other building can take over the land.
Okay, so I'm sitting on the dorm's Wi-Fi, using the dorm's electricity to post about how the dorm should be destroyed.
Right. And here is where the logic breaks down. If your wish actually comes true, if the dorm is bombed or demolished by the rival, you don't just lose the things you complain about. You don't just lose the illegitimate administration you hate. You lose the roof. You lose the Wi-Fi. You lose the food.
Yeah.
You are now, quite literally, homeless.
And the kicker is, you don't automatically get a room in the greater building next door just because you cheered for them.
No, that's the delusion. You have to reapply for housing from scratch.
Yep.
The rival building doesn't have a record of you. They don't care that you are a fan.
Yep.
You are just another displaced person. And that's the disconnect. It leads us to the gym membership paradox, which is another analogy that really clarifies the entitlement aspect of this.
Walk us through the gym scenario, because I feel like I've met this person at my gym.
We all have. Imagine you're a member of a high-end gym. You go there every day. You lift weights, you take a hot shower, you use the sauna, you grab a complimentary towel. You are a heavy user of the facilities. You're getting your money's worth. But every single day, you post on the gym's bulletin board or on Yelp that the gym is illegal, that the owner is a crook, that the building code is violated, and the whole place should be demolished immediately.
You're actively trying to ruin the gym's reputation and existence while using the towel service.
Exactly. And then, inevitably, one day the gym manager says, "Okay, we hear you. We see your complaints. We are canceling your membership. Get out."
And what happens? Does the person say, "Thank you, I finally have my freedom from this illegal gym"?
Of course not. The person immediately screams about their rights. "How dare you violate my consumer rights? I paid my dues. You can't kick me out."
The audacity is incredible.
It is. But look at the logic. It collapses. You cannot claim the rights of a member while denying the legitimacy of the club's existence. You want the protection of the bylaws, but you don't want to be bound by the loyalty those bylaws imply. You want to be a customer when it suits you and a revolutionary when it suits you.
It feels like they want the moral high ground of the rebel, but the creature comforts of the loyalist. They want the badge of honor for resisting, but they also want the air conditioning.
That's a perfect way to put it. There's a third analogy in the notes about the scam company that touches on the financial aspect. It's the employee who calls the company a scam, calls the boss illegal, says the whole operation is a fraud, but punctually collects their salary on the 15th.
And probably runs to the company legal department if they get sued by a client.
Exactly. Help me, I'm being attacked. It's not principal belief. If it were a principal belief, if you really believed the company was a scam, you would quit. You would leave. You wouldn't touch their dirty money.
So what is it then, if it's not principle?
It is convenience seeking. It's speculative opportunism. You are hedging your bets. You want to signal loyalty to the future conqueror just in case the hostile power takes over while milking the current provider for everything they're worth right now. It is fundamentally, logically dishonest. It's a strategy of trying to have it both ways forever.
But I think there's a deeper layer here, and the notes touch on this. I think a lot of these folks, these hostile beneficiaries, they have a fantasy about what actually happens if their wish comes true. They think, oh, if the other side takes over, if the greater building annexes us, it's just a flag swap. I'll keep my pension, my house, my tenure.
That is the most dangerous misconception. And the sources are very, very clear on this. In geopolitical terms, especially regarding something like an armed unification or a military annexation, we aren't talking about a corporate merger. We aren't talking about a new CEO coming in and keeping the staff because they know how to run the printers. We are talking about a system reset.
A system reset? That sounds ominous.
It is. Think of it like the format button on a hard drive.
So unpack that. What does a format actually look like for a regular citizen?
Well, think about the mechanics of your daily life. Your residency status. That is a data point in the current state's database. Your welfare benefits, current state, your property deed. That is a legal document recognized and enforced by the current state's courts. When a hostile system takes over, they don't just grandfather everyone in. They don't just port the data over.
Right, because that old state doesn't exist anymore. Its laws are null and void.
Exactly. Residency statuses don't automatically upgrade. Welfare systems are often stopped completely or recalculated based on the new regime's priorities. And think about educational credentials. This is a big one. If you have a law degree or a teaching certificate from the illegitimate regime.
Oh, wow, yeah. If you're a lawyer practicing Taiwanese law or the law of the old republic, and suddenly the legal code is replaced by a totally different authoritarian legal code, your degree is effectively paper.
It's up for re-verification at best and complete nullification at worst. You might have to go back to school or pass political education exams just to practice. And here's the irony of the loyalist. History shows us this time and time again. When a system is wiped out, the first people to lose protection are often the marginalized or those who relied most heavily on the old system's welfare state. You cannot sit on a neighbor's sofa, advocate for their house to be demolished, and assume you will automatically be given a master suite in the new mansion built on the rubble.
That is a powerful image. You're assuming the new landlord is going to look at you, the guy who betrayed his last landlord, and say, yes, this is a trustworthy tenant I want to reward.
Exactly. There's an old saying, treason is often loved by conquerors, but the traitor is rarely trusted. Why would the new regime trust you? You proved you have no loyalty.
Yeah.
But even putting the trust issue aside, it's just bureaucratic reality. The new system has its own people to feed, its own loyalists to reward, its own veterans who need housing. You, the person from the conquered territory, are at the back of the line. You are a resource to be managed, not a partner to be rewarded.
This leads perfectly into what the sources call the reverse thought experiment. I love a good thought experiment because it strips away the bias and exposes hypocrisy so fast.
It's the ultimate stress test for logic. If a rule works, it should work in both directions.
So the setup is, we have person A in a democracy. Let's stick with the Taiwan example found in the Research Enjoying Freedom of Speech to call for the destruction of the democracy. They claim this is their right. They say, I can say whatever I want. This is a free country. So let's reverse the roles. Let's imagine a Taiwanese person living in China or any similar authoritarian regime.
Okay, so they are over there.
They are using the local healthcare, working a local job, eating the local food, but they publicly, repeatedly, and loudly post on social media that China is an illegal regime and should be destroyed or conquered by Taiwan.
Just let that scenario sit for a second. Try to imagine that Weibo post going up in Beijing.
Yeah. What happens to that person?
Well, let's look at the societal reaction first. We aren't even at the government yet. In an authoritarian state, this person would not be viewed as having a difference of opinion. They wouldn't be invited on talk shows to debate the nuance of sovereignty. They would be viewed as an ingrate, a security risk, an enemy agent.
So the social fabric rips immediately.
Immediate distancing. Friends, employers, landlords, they would cut ties instantly. Not necessarily because they hate the person, but to avoid guilt by association. In a surveillance state, being close to a dissident is dangerous. Your social credit goes down if you hang out with the guy calling for the regime's collapse. The social cost is immediate and total.
And then comes the institutional reaction, the knock on the door.
Right. In a democracy, the debate regarding the hostile beneficiary is, should we tolerate this speech? Is it protected by the Constitution? Where is the line between speech and incitement? It's a legal and philosophical debate. In the authoritarian system, the response is administrative. It is a procedure, detention, deportation, or, in severe cases, disappearing. There is no debate. The person is simply removed from the equation.
So the irony is the asymmetry.
It's the asymmetry of tolerance. These individuals rely on the tolerance of System A, the democracy, to advocate for System B, the authoritarian regime, knowing full well deep down that System B would never, ever tolerate them doing the reverse.
The phrase that jumped out at me from the notes was, Taiwan is a home that discusses the house rules with you. China is a place where the rules are written on the wall, and if you break them, you disappear.
That sums it up perfectly. It's the difference between a negotiation and a decree. And relying on the negotiation to advocate for the decree is a luxury that only exists in one of those two worlds. It's a privilege they're actively trying to destroy.
It's fascinating because it reveals that their entire worldview is subsidized by the very freedom they claim to despise. But let's zoom out. We promised an international lens. This isn't just about individual psychology. It's about how states maintain stability. We're seeing this play out right now in places like Iran and China.
Absolutely. This connects directly to the mission of Sip&Talk. We need to look at the global board. We can't just look at the individual. We have to look at the systems they inhabit. Why do some systems tolerate dissent while others crush it.
So let's talk about Iran. We've seen the unrest there, sparked initially by the Masa Amini tragedy, the hijab incident. It's been a slow burn of protests and crackdowns for a while now.
It has. And why is this relevant to our discussion on systems? Because Iran showcases a regime facing a profound crisis of legitimacy. When a government can no longer convince its people of its right to rule through shared values or economic delivery, it has to rely on pure force.
And we've heard the slogan, right? Today's Iran, tomorrow's China. Critics use it a lot. It's catchy. But what does that actually mean? Is it a prediction?
It's less a prediction of immediate collapse and more a comparison of risk structure. It's about structural similarity. In Iran, you have an ideological regime. You have a heavy reliance on repression. And crucially, you have a crisis of economic legitimacy. The people aren't getting richer. Life isn't getting better.
That brings us to the Tiananmen pivot. The sources highlight 1989 as this massive turning point for China. We really need to understand this to understand the current tension.
It was the defining moment for modern China. To understand China today, you have to understand the grand bargain. After the crackdown in 1989, the Chinese Communist Party effectively made a deal with the people. It wasn't written down, it wasn't signed, but it was understood by everyone. The deal was, we will provide rapid, undeniable economic growth. We will make you rich, or at least your children rich. We will restore national pride. In exchange, you will provide political silence. You will stay out of the streets.
I'll fill your wallet, you shut your mouth.
Truthfully put, yes. And for 30 years, you have to say, it worked. It worked incredibly well. The economy boomed, living standards skyrocketed, cities rose out of nowhere. For the most part, the political silence was maintained because the payout was there. The contract was being honored.
But that's the catch, isn't it? The economy can't boom forever. Trees don't grow to the sky.
And that is the current fragility. We're seeing the Chinese economy slow down. We see real estate crises, entire ghost cities of unfinished apartments. We see massive youth unemployment. We see demographic shifts where the workforce is shrinking. When the economy slows, the grand bargain breaks. The deal is void.
So if the wallet isn't getting filled?
Then why keep your mouth shut? That's the danger zone. That is where the comparison to Iran comes in. Iran represents what happens when a regime has no economic goods to offer. Iran's economy has been battered by sanctions and mismanagement. They can't buy loyalty anymore, so they rely only on ideology and violence. The result is constant instability and a population that is permanently restless.
So the comparison is, if China loses its economic engine, does it slide toward the Iranian model?
That's the fear. China has much better state capacity than Iran. Better surveillance, better technology, a stronger bureaucracy. They can maintain control more efficiently. But the fundamental equation holds. If the economic compensation disappears, China risks sliding toward governance by force. And governance by force is incredibly expensive and inherently unstable. You have to spend all your energy policing your own people.
It's like the gym membership again, on a national scale. If the gym stops fixing the machines and turns off the AC and the showers are cold but they keep charging you dues, eventually you're going to riot, no matter how big the bouncer is.
Precisely. The hostile beneficiary at the individual level is annoying, the guy complaining about the gym, but a population that feels the contract has been broken. That is an existential threat to a regime. And that is what Beijing is terrified of.
This brings us back to that individual we started with. The person angry at the democracy they live in, or the person angry when reality hits. The sources mention the psychology of the betrayed.
Yes. Let's go back to our gym member who finally got their membership canceled. Why are they so angry? It's not just inconvenience. It's because reality failed to meet their fantasy. They wanted the status of a rebel, the cool, edgy person speaking truth to power, but they wanted the comfort of a protected citizen.
They wanted to play revolutionary on the weekends but have a desk job on Monday.
And when the system pushes back, revoking a visa, canceling a membership, or in the case of a state enforcing its laws, they are experiencing the bill for their stance for the first time.
The bill for the stance, I like that.
Beliefs have costs. Positions have consequences. For a long time, democratic tolerance shields people from those costs. It absorbs the cost for you. But eventually, the bill comes due. And when it does, the shock is real. They feel betrayed because they never actually believed the system would enforce its own boundaries.
So if we look at this whole picture, from the guy shouting in the dorm to the streets of Tehran, what's the synthesis here? What are we taking away?
The central theme is the relationship between the individual and the system that sustains them. Whether you are a person in a democracy taking free speech for granted, or a citizen in a regime like Iran or China, watching the economic promise fade, you cannot indefinitely maintain a contradiction between reality and ideology.
You can't live in a fantasy world forever.
No. Reality always wins. You cannot advocate for the destruction of the ship you are sailing on and then be surprised when you drown. And conversely, a state cannot promise prosperity in exchange for silence, fail to deliver the prosperity, and expect the silence to continue. It's all about the alignment of reality and expectation.
Man, that is a lot to chew on. It really makes you look at those angry social media posts differently. It's not just noise, it's a symptom of this disconnected logic.
It is. And recognizing it helps you not get sucked into the emotional vortex of it. You can step back and say, I see the contradiction here. You're asking for the benefits of the system you're trying to dismantle. It clarifies things immensely.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that is what Sip and Talk is all about. Logic over emotion. Understanding the mechanics, not just the mood.
Every time.
Before we wrap up, I want to reiterate our disclaimer. We use specific examples today. Taiwan, China, Iran, because that's where the data and the current events took us. But this is an analytical exercise. We are looking at behavioral contradictions and logical fallacies.
Right. No discrimination is intended against any specific group. This logic applies just as well to a Westerner in a corporation or a citizen in any nation. It's about how humans interact with the systems they live in. It's universal human psychology.
Absolutely. We want you to think for yourselves, challenge your own contradictions. That's how we get smarter.
And stay curious.
Speaking of staying curious, if you enjoyed this episode of Sip and Talk, please hit that subscribe button. We've got some incredible topics coming up in 2026. We are just getting started.
And don't forget the other channel.
Yes. You have to go check out our old friend Mickey's YouTube channel. Seriously, if you need a break from geopolitics, and after this episode, you might... Mickey has the most hilarious memes, and his latest travel vlogs are insane. He just went to... where was it?
I think he was hiking in the Andes.
Yeah, the footage is wild. It's breathtaking stuff. Go show him some love. Subscribe to his channel. It helps the whole ecosystem.
Oh, definitely.
Any final thought to leave our listeners with today? Something to let simmer?
I think just this. Systems provide safety, but they require reality-based maintenance. Don't be the person sawing off the branch you're sitting on. It sounds simple, but look around the world. A lot of people are holding saws.
Don't saw off the branch you're sitting on. Words to live by. Thank you for listening to Sip and Talk. We'll catch you in the next one.
Goodbye.